Alright guys, today we are looking at midweek number 1, your very first one, which a lot of this should just be review from last year, but I know it has been a while since you've done grammar, so we're just going to get back on the same page. So, starting things off, we know a sentence is a group of words that gives us a sense of completeness. Why don't you go ahead and circle or highlight or put a star next to that, because that's a good definition to have for later on. So if we have the barking dog versus the dog is barking, okay, which of those two word groups is a sentence? Which one? Obviously B. So you can go ahead and circle B. The dog is barking. We know that's a sentence because it makes sense by itself. If you just have the barking dog, you're like, well, what about this barking dog? We don't know. So B is a sentence because it gives us a sense of completeness. And it gives us that sense of completeness for two reasons. First, it names what we're talking about. And second, it tells something about that naming part. It tells us what it's doing. So in the dog is barking, in that sentence, what two words belong to the naming part of the sentence? The ones that says what we're talking about. I'll give you a second to write it down. And I hope you wrote down the dog, because that would be correct. So if the dog is the naming part of the sentence, what two words belong to the telling part that tells us what the dog is doing? Obviously, is and barking. That is what the dog is doing. So you have the naming part and the telling part. That makes up your sentence. So if we have the argument was useless versus a useless argument, which of those two word groups is a complete sentence? It makes sense by itself, has a naming and a telling part. Obviously, A. The argument was useless. Whereas a useless argument, you're like, well, what about this useless argument? We don't have enough information. So helping his friend, with the help of his friend, Jennifer helped her friend. Which of those word groups is a complete sentence? I feel like Dora the Explorer a little bit. Like, give me your answer. Yay! I hope you said C, because C is what is correct. Alright, so circle, star, highlight this as well. Remember, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Okay, that is just the definition of a noun. Any person, any place, anything, or any idea. By idea, I usually mean things like love isn't necessarily something that you can just buy. It's not a person, a place, or a thing, but it is the idea of love can be a noun. So if we look at all these nouns, I want you to tell me which category that they fall into, making them a noun. I'm just going to read them first. I'm going to let you guys figure out which ones go, and then I'll let you know. So we have oak lawn. Is that a person, place, thing, or idea? Same with love, Australia, embarrassment, officer, carrot, mom, and polar bear. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to just talk to myself or whatever. I don't know. But you tell me, is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? Or is it idea? I want you to go ahead and fill those in. While I watch what the heck my cat is doing right now. Hey, Nora! Maybe. Nah, she's being a punk. Alright, so what was it? Oak Lawn is a place. That's actually the place where I grew up. Love, like I just said, is an idea. Australia, also a place. You can go there and visit. Embarrassment, you can't buy embarrassment, but you can definitely feel it, so that's an idea. Officer would be a person. Carrot is a thing. Mom is a person. And a polar bear is a thing. Easy enough, right? Okay, so then another part of speech to circle, star, highlight, a verb. We know verbs are generally speaking action words. There's other types of verbs too, but we'll get to them later. So if we have sprint, die, eat, sing, believe, love, worry, push, know, sleep, are all of those actions that someone can do? Absolutely yes. So does that mean they're all verbs? Absolutely yes. Any action you can do is a verb. So there are those answers if you didn't happen to catch me while I was saying them. So if you want to pause the video to write them down, if you didn't already, go for it. I'm not going to know one way or the other. But moving right along. So the naming part of the sentence is called the complete subject, which is usually built around the noun or the pronoun that tells what the sentence is about. Okay, so it could be like, Gregory went to the store. Gregory would be the subject. If I said he went to the store, he would be the subject because it tells us who is going to the store. So that noun or pronoun is known as the simple subject. So I want to go ahead and circle to highlight subject because that is the naming part of the sentence. So if the old black dog wagged its shaggy tail, the complete subject consists of the 4 words that tell us the naming part of the sentence. And it's pretty much going to be the 4 words that come right before the verb, which are the old black dog, because that is the naming part. Everything else doesn't name what's going on. So the simple subject of those 4 words, the noun or the pronoun that tells us what is wagging its shaggy tail, would have to be the one noun of dog. So the old black dog for the 4 words, dog for the 1 word. Simple enough. Alright, so then the telling part of the sentence is called the complete predicate. Circle star highlight that. Which is built around the simple predicate, which is also just known as the verb. It makes the statement about the subject. It tells us what the subject is doing. So with that same sentence of the old black dog wagged its shaggy tail, what are the 4 words that are built around the verb, being the complete predicate? Wagged its shaggy tail. And then what is the one verb in that part of the predicate? What is the action word? It would have to be wagged. It tells us what the dog is doing. Easy enough. Alright, so if we have the two small boys ring our doorbell. So the subject of this sentence is the noun that is doing the action. And the verb is the word that is the action. My recommendation, always start with the verb. Find the action before you figure out what is doing the action. So what is the action word in that sentence? Ring. That is the action being done by the noun of boys. So the subject of the sentence is boys. The verb is the word ring. A handsome blue car stopped in front of our house. So again, we want to find the subject and we want to find the predicate, the noun and the verb. But start with the verb. So what is the action being done here? What's the action word? It is stopped, because you can stop something, but the rest of these words you can't do those things. Like you can't blue something or house something. So what is the subject of the sentence that is actually stopping? It would have to be the noun car. So the car stopped. The fat lazy cat soaked up the sun. So again, we want to find the subject, we want to find the predicate, the noun and the verb. What is the action word? What is the verb in that sentence? Which of those words is something you can actually do? You can't lazy something, you can't like cat something, but you can soak up something, even if it's in past tense. So soaked is my verb. The subject though, what is soaking up the sun? It is that old cat, that fat lazy cat. Hopefully this is clear so far. Hopefully it's just review, because review makes it a lot easier. So, verbs have a special characteristic that helps us easily identify them. They are the only words that can show by a change in their spelling whether they mean the present tense or the past tense. Is it happening right now or has it already happened? So, for example, the verb cook. You can cook in the present, but in the past you cooked. You can see in the present, but in the past you saw. You can speak in the present, but in the past you spoke. So I want the past form of each of these verbs. If I jump in the present, what do I do in the past? I jumped. If I eat in the present, what did I do in the past? I ate, A-T-E. If I put something in the present, what do I do in the past? I hope you didn't say putted, because that's not a word. Nope, put is just the same. You put in the present, you put in the past. If you ride in the present, in the past you rode. If you know something in the present, in the past you knew. And if you cut something in the present, in the past you also cut. No such word as cutted. Even though little kids like to say that, like, I cutted you. Like, no, child, you just don't know grammar yet because you are young and foolish and uneducated. This is why I don't teach little kids. But you guys are better than little kids, so put and cut. So like I just said, some verbs can have the same form for both the past and the present time. So examples of those, like hit, yeah, I hit in the present, but I hit you in the past. I cut you right now, but I also cut up a steak yesterday. I'll let you get ahead of me, but I'll also let you get behind me, past tense, put, hurt, cost, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch of them. So those stay the same. Answers if you need them. Okay, so in these sentences, I want you to underline the subject, which remember is the noun or the pronoun that does the action, and then circle the predicate, which is the verb that is the action. Okay, so underline and circle. Again, always start off with the verb. Find the action first. So if the cat stalked her prey, what is the action word to circle? Stalked. And then what is stalking? The cat. So you underline cat, circle, stalked. I won $5 in the lottery. Go me. I can go buy another lottery ticket. So what is my action word here? What's my verb? What's my predicate? All meaning the same thing. The word won. So circle won. But who won $5 in the lottery? I. So underline I, my subject. Phone rang with another scam call. Alright, so I'm going to give you a second to try to figure out this one, which should hopefully be incredibly easy. So, what is the action word? Circle that. What is doing that action? Underline it. And hopefully you circled rang and underlined phone, because that is what the phone did. It rang. Dan danced with delight at the new Marvel movie. What is my predicate? What is my verb, my action word? Again, all means the same thing. And then who or what is doing that action? So, hopefully you circled danced because that's the action. And who is dancing? Dan is dancing. So underline Dan. And with a little bit of hard work, the sophomores mastered grammar. Alright, so what is the action word here? What is being done? Is mastered. And who is mastering it? The sophomores. So underline sophomores, circle mastered. And if you happen to miss any of those, here are your answers to go ahead and write down. Yay! Okay, moving along. So for the following word groups, I want you to tell me if there is just a subject, so just the noun part, if there's just the predicate, so just the verb part, or if it is a complete sentence, which would be SP. Now, don't be distracted by other like words. You can have more than one word there, but still just have a subject or still just have a predicate. So with his head high, Josh. Now, first of all, is this a complete sentence? Probably not. It doesn't sound like a completed thought, right? Just with his head high, Josh did what? We don't know. So since we have the noun Josh here, we know that that has to be the subject. It is missing the predicate part that tells us what Josh does. Sucked down a cherry Slurpee. I want a cherry Slurpee right now. That sounds freaking delicious. Who sucked down the Slurpee though? We have no idea. So we know that would just be the predicate. Can you hear my cat? She is meowing because she wants her dinner. But it's too early for dinner, Pandora. You silly goof. The light flickered and turned off. Alright, so this one's interesting. We've got two verbs here, flickered and turned. But do we know what is flickering and turning? We do. It's the light. So that means we've got both parts, which means complete sentence, which means SP. Save the day. Well, that's fun. Who saved the day, though? We have no idea. Why don't we know? Because we are missing the subject. So saved will just be the verb, the predicate. Pandora meowed. Hey, you just did that, goof. Pandora, my noun, right? Meowed, my verb. Is that a complete sentence even though it's only two words? Absolutely it is, because it has both parts. So SP. And Jen, to her credit, blah, blah, blah. Not a complete sentence. We don't know what Jen, to her credit, did. But we do know Jen, my best friend. So Jen would have to just be your subject. Okay? So there are those answers. Again, if you don't need them, hopefully this made sense. If it didn't, go ahead and ask me, shoot me an email or whatever. And then let's go over to the video about your actual worksheet. Yay, worksheet! All right, I'm done.